A grand jury is set to hear the case of an Ohio woman who miscarried her baby in her bathroom at home. And we do want to warn you, some of the details of this story may be disturbing. Brittany Watts was 22 weeks and 1 day pregnant when she experienced a miscarriage. Watts had visited her hospital twice in the days leading up to the miscarriage, complaining of cramping and vaginal bleeding, and had left the facility after not receiving care for more than 8 hours. Watts' doctor told her that her fetus had a heartbeat but was non-viable. Watts' water had broken, and doctors said she would ultimately miscarry. Watts was ineligible for a safe legal abortion, as abortion at the time was against the law after 20 weeks of pregnancy in Ohio. Days later, on September 22nd, she passed her non-viable fetus in her bathroom at home. Watts then proceeded to attend a hair appointment and was later taken to the hospital. After arriving, a nurse called the police, telling dispatch Watts had been to the hospital earlier in the week and left before receiving medical care, and then showed up to the facility on the 22nd, no longer pregnant. According to the call, the nurse also told police that Watts told her she placed the fetus in a bucket outside of her home. Investigators say when they went to Watts' house, they found the fetus stuck in the pipes of the toilet, and they took the toilet in for evidence. Weeks later, they arrested Watts. WKBN News in Youngstown, Ohio, covered the preliminary hearing in November. At the hearing, forensic pathologist Dr. George Sturbins testified that the autopsy found no injury to the fetus and that the baby had died before passing through the birth canal, saying, quote, "This fetus was going to be non-viable. It was going to be non-viable because she had premature ruptured membranes. Her water had broken early, and the fetus was too young to be delivered," end quote. The assistant prosecutor argues the case should move forward.
The issue isn't how the child died, when the child died. It's the fact that the baby was put into a toilet large enough to clog up the toilet, left in that toilet, and she went on her day.
Watts' attorney argues Watts is being demonized for, quote, "something that goes on every day." And CNN reported that Ohio law does not require women who have miscarried to bury or cremate fetal remains. At the preliminary hearing, the judge bound the case over to a grand jury, which will ultimately decide if Watts should be indicted for abuse of a corpse, a federal charge that could put Watts behind bars for a year. Days ago, the Ohio Physicians for Reproductive Rights sent a public letter to the lead prosecutor urging him to drop the charges against Watts. In the time since Watts miscarried, Ohio voters passed Issue 1 in the November election, enshrining reproductive rights into Ohio's Constitution, declaring a person has the right to make and carry out one's own reproductive decisions. Women in Ohio can now receive an abortion up to fetal viability, defined as a significant likelihood of survival outside of the womb.